not doing this just to like try and poke the eye of the government. It's because this is what they believe their Lord commands them to do. And
Faith facing the music in Alberta. The pastor of GraceLife Church near Edmonton arrested and charged under the Public Health Act for ignoring capacity restrictions and physical distancing rules. But some advocates argue that religious rights are not trumped by emergency orders.
is that restriction a justified violation of freedom of religion and freedom of assembly, right? That's really the key question in this case, assuming the Crown can establish that evidence.
What we are commanded not to do is inflict death on other people in order to show how free we are.
Vancouver pastor Jason Maessy has been preaching virtually during the pandemic, and he says some groups are required by doctrine to meet in person, but that caring for one another overrides concerns over unjust rules.
But then St. Paul in places like 1 Corinthians chapter 8 wants to say, now look, yes, you are free, but you may not use your freedom to do harm. That's not freedom, that's selfishness, and that's sinful.
There's a theological component, there's a financial component, and then there's a political component.
The sociologist says there are several reasons why some churches have opposed health restrictions, adding that GraceLife's defied online statement leads one way.
If you flipped out a few phrasing in there, that would have read like a statement that was put out by a restaurant or a gym that was defying the order as well. Like, I really think it's the underlying politics that are operating that are then being legitimized by the theologies.
He says research shows most houses of worship have complied with orders. Those that don't often cite something like Christian persecution, which in turn may spur some benefits for church leaders.
The church finances were hurting going into this, and that church finances and donations are probably up since they have been getting this attention.
The capacity has varied nationwide. Alberta at 15%, Manitoba announcing 10% on Tuesday. But if the caps remain in effect, advocates intend to fight back.
Even a 95% restriction is a violation of their rights. Now, that's a lesser violation, and it would be easier to justify, right? That's why I mentioned earlier, 15 is very severe, right?
Canada has a long history of unjust laws, especially with regard to Indigenous peoples and Asian Canadians. That's not what these fairly wealthy middle or upper middle class white evangelicals are facing.
In Edmonton, Courtney Theriault, City News.